Hi everyone, this is my special lecture series of Linux programming under my channel Adept to Teach. Myself, Dr. Ramandeep Kaur. I'll be covering the following contents in my lecture. Please subscribe my channel to receive the updates and click on the bell button for notifications. If you like the video, then consider commenting and sharing.
GREP full form is Global Regular Expression Print. That means whatever uh, expressions or whatever patterns you are giving, it will match those patterns, and whatever matching outcome will come up, it will print that outcome onto your screen. So it will find a specific set of patterns, maybe as a complete string or as a substring from multiple sources. That means from a file or from standard input or from more than one files. It can take the input from variety of files, and it will match the pattern as per your requirement, and then it will print that onto your screen. So when we say pattern, what can be a pattern? It can be a single character, it can be a bunch of characters. That means let's say my pattern is I, or my pattern is, or my pattern is a complete word, or my pattern may be a complete sentence. So if you would like to find a pattern in any file or from your standard input device, you can use grep. Now, whatever patterns you are giving, it treats it as a regular expression. Now, there are different syntaxes of grep. First syntax is you will write grep, then you will write whatever options that I'll be just discussing. After that, the pattern that you have to search for, and followed by the file or set of files into which you have to look into for that pattern. Second is you'll write grep, then again options. Then if my pattern, I do not want to write here, but I want that there are more than one patterns that I want to look for, and those patterns are there stored in a file. Then I can call that file here for looking into the pattern. That pattern one by one will be picked and will be searched in the respective files. So for that option, we'll have to use -e for searching for the pattern, and -f when we want that the pattern is to be searched from a particular file and to be matched to a particular file. Third option is when we are already running some command, and on that command we would like to search for some patterns. So here you can use command, then a pipe operator, after that grep, the number of options followed by a pattern. So whatever option here in the third syntax you will write, that pattern will be searched in the output of the command that we'll be executing prior to grep. There are things like asterisk, question mark. If you are trying to use it as a special characters, or you are trying to use it with your patterns, then they have to be enclosed in single quotes or double quotes. If you do not enclose it like this, then it will be treated as special characters, and they have a special meaning when we are using grep. So if you want them to be treated as a normal set of characters within your string, then you will have to enclose it between either single quotes or double quotes. Else, it will be treated as special characters with special meanings that we'll take in the forward slides. Now, what are the different options that are there for grep command? First option is -l. That means it will list all the files that will contain the matching pattern. So if I'm giving more than, let's say, 5 files, the pattern matches, then it will list only the name of those files. Let's say I have file f1 to f5, and I'm looking for a pattern limits. If in any of the files this pattern matches, it will return me with the name of those files on my screen. Next is -n. It prints the line numbers and the matched lines. That means at what line number the matching of the pattern has occurred. So the matching pattern as well as the complete line, the line number that will be printed. If I want to print the lines other than those lines which matches the pattern, then I will use -v. Then if I'm only giving the name of the directory, and I want that the pattern matching should be done recursively within the subdirectories and all the files that are available within that main directory, then I will use -r. So it will search in all the directories and all the files that are available within a main directory. If I'd like to make my pattern ignore the cases. That means whether you are writing it in uppercase or lowercase, it should treat both of them equally. Then I can use hyphen I option. If you want to use patterns from your file, and those files should read it one character at a one line at a time. That means if my file has four patterns, first the first line should be read as one pattern, then it will search all the files for that pattern. Then the second line of that file should be read as a, it should be treated as a pattern, and it should match it with the consequent files. Then I'll use the option hyphen F with the name of the file, which I will treat it as a pattern file. Next is hyphen E. Now hyphen E along with the, you have to write a pattern. So this means this particular pattern should be searched. If you want to search more than one pattern, then you have two options. Either write the patterns in your file and all the file pattern file and read one pattern one line at a time and match it with the files, or alternatively you can mention all the patterns right on your screen using hyphen e option. So hyphen e one pattern, hyphen e another option pattern, hyphen e another pattern. So you can use either hyphen f file or you can use hyphen e and the pattern. Next is if I only want to print the count of those lines which matches my pattern, then I can use hyphen C option. If I'm looking for the exact matches only, so that time I can use hyphen X. Exact matches means if I have written, whether I have written it in uppercase or lowercase, exactly that letter should be matched. Then I will look for hyphen X option. If I want to match, I want to select only those lines which contain the match pattern in whole words. For example, I'm searching for is. Now, if I search this pattern in my entire file, maybe there are some words like this which consist of is word also. So by default, it will give me those also, those lines also as pattern matching. But I want that is should be treated as one word, and whenever only this word comes up individually, only two words, I and S, it should not be followed by any other word uh, previous to I and followed by S. So that should be treated as only one word, and wherever the occurrences of is word is there, that line should be matched. That line should be printed. Then I will use hyphen W word. Now let's see the examples of whatever options I have just discussed and different types of syntax. So first example is search the pattern. That pattern will be given on the screen. That means using command line arguments, and you have to search the pattern in a file that the name that of that will be provided on command line argument. So there is an example. I've used grep followed by Linux techie. This is the pattern that I have to search, and this pattern is to be searched in the file slash etc slash passwd. So wherever this line, wherever this string appears in your file, those lines will be printed. So there is only one line as of now wherein there are multiple occurrences of this pattern that I'm searching for. So second example is search the pattern in multiple files. So same pattern I'd like to look in multiple files. So wherever this pattern will exist, those lines from those files will be printed. Now I'm looking for grep. I've written grep. Then Linux techie is my pattern, and I want to search it in file passwd, shadow, and gshadow files. So wherever this word appears, be it the starting word or it is an intermediate word or maybe an ending word, wherever this pattern matches, only those lines will be printed from all the files that are available. Third example. Now I would like to list the names of those files which have the pattern which is matched. So I don't want the lines to be printed. I only want the file names to be printed where the pattern exists. So if I want to list the name of the files, then I will use hyphen L. So grep hyphen L, the pattern I want to search and the files in which I want to search. If in any of these files this pattern exists, only the names of the file will be printed on your screen. So as of now, as per this statement, only two uh, files are there which has this pattern slash pass etc pass wd and slash etc shadow file. Third example, when you'd like to print the line numbers where a particular pattern gets matched. So you can use the option -l, -n for line numbers, followed by the pattern and followed by the file. So wherever this pattern exists, the line number is the first thing to be printed, followed by the entire line. Next option is when you want to print those lines where the pattern does not matches. So you want to exclude the lines where the pattern matches, and except for those lines which matches the pattern, the rest should be printed. Then you can use the option called -v. So grep -v, then my pattern to be matched and the file to be matched. So in the output, you will see nowhere you will be able to find Linux sticky. Next example is when you want to display the line that will start particular pattern. So I am now trying to restrict my filters. I want that the pattern I'm going to match, it should be either only in the starting or it should be the last word. So if I want to restrict it to as the starting word, then it will be followed by a caret operator. If I want it to be the last word, then it will be succeeded by a dollar operator. So let's see the example. Grep, then I have put a caret operator and root. That means the first word that in that line which matches the pattern root, it should be the first word. So wherever this pattern matches, it should be checked that this root should be the starting word. If I want to search those lines where the pattern matches only as the last word, so in that case, I will follow it with a dollar operator. Now the dollar operator has to be put in the last of the pattern that I am searching. So let's say the pattern is bash. So I want this bash pattern to be the last word of the line where it matches. So it has the dollar operator would be put at the end of the pattern. So bash and dollar. The pattern is matched, but the pattern should be at the last. Should be as the last word of my line. So those lines will be printed. If I have to search for empty or blank lines, I will start with the caret operator and I will simply end with a dollar operator. Nothing in between. That means this signifies that there is it starts with blank and it ends with blank. There is nothing in between the line. So caret says beginning, dollar says end. If there is nothing in between, it will treat it as a blank line. If I want to look for pattern recursively in my directory and subdirectory, so I'm just stating the name of a directory and I want what if the pattern matches in any of the subdirectory or in any of the files under that directory, then they should be looked for and they should be printed. So I can write here like grep-r for recursively searching within a directory and subdirectory and files. And the pattern that is to be searched is Linux techie. The location, that means the main directory I've given is /etc/. When you want to ignore the cases, that means whether it is written, whether the pattern is in uppercase or lowercase, whether the file to be searched, it is in uppercase or lowercase, the pattern should treat it as equally. So I can use grep-i. Let's say I'm searching the pattern Linux techie and just see I have made two letters capital, L capital and T capital. So ideally this pattern should be looked into the file, but since I have written I, so my entire file, the contents in my file, letter cases will be ignored. So it will simply treat it as a word, whether it is in capital or it is in small, it will be matched. So the line where Linux techie is matched has been printed. Next example is when I'd like to take the pattern from my file, read the pattern from the file one at a time, match it with the file that I want to search for the pattern, and print it whenever the pattern strikes, just print those lines. So I have shown an example where I'm first creating a file for making some patterns. So I have written cat grep pattern is a file, a simple file that I have created for inserting my patterns. I've created three patterns. One pattern that should start with Linux techie, one pattern in intermediate or starting or anywhere this root exists. Third pattern, that if at the end the false word appears, then this should be treated as a pattern. So all the lines which have any of the three available, just it will be printed. So how I can do it? I'll write grep -f to state that now I am going to pass a file as a pattern, and from that file you have to read all the patterns one line at a time, search in the files that I will be just passing on, and after you search for one pattern, then search for the second pattern, and then search for the third pattern. Now let's see the output. First line is where it finds root, then the rest of the lines where it falls as the last word, and the last line is where Linux techie was the first word of your entire line. So it has tried to identify all the patterns, and wherever these patterns, any of the pattern exists, these lines will be printed. Next is if I would like to search for multiple patterns which are provided on the command prompt only. The previous example was when you were searching for multiple patterns which was stored in a file. Now I don't want to create a file and I want to give it on a random basis on my command line argument whatever different patterns I would like to search in a particular file. So how can I do it? Just write grep -e one pattern -e second pattern. So grep e, then you will search for Linux pattern in the file etc/passwd. Then again it has found -e root. That means now it has to look for root also in the same file. So I can provide multiple patterns on command line argument to be matched in a particular file. Now if I'd like to count only the number of occurrences of pattern which matches, then I can use -c option. Then if I'd like to display the number of lines before and after a pattern matching, I want the second my pattern matches, 2 lines before that should also be printed in the output, or 5 lines after my pattern matches should also be printed. So for this, we will be using 2 options, hyphen capital B for before lines and hyphen capital A for after lines. Let's look at the example. The example says grep -b 4. That means before 4 lines. Wherever this pattern games matches in the file that is /etc passwd, from that onwards, go previously, count 4 lines and print the previous 4 lines also. So let's see the output here. First line, second line, third line, fourth line. Fifth was the line where the pattern matched. So it will first identify the line where the pattern matches. From there, it will start counting 4 more lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It will count the 4 more lines, go in the backward direction and print those 4 lines along with the matching line. So in all, you will have total 5 lines. Likewise, if I want that wherever my pattern matches, after that, the next 4 lines should be printed. So in the next example, I have written grep -a for after. 4 lines, this count you can vary as per your requirement. Then what pattern should be looked in and what file it should be looked in. Now I'll be checking for full words which are not the substrings. So if I want to match a pattern, it should be treated as a full word. It should not be treated as an intermediary word. So I have an example here. Let's look at the example. Grep -i, that means ignore the case. And I'm looking for a pattern is, and I want to look this pattern in the file demo file. Now let's see how many times this is appears as per normal search. So first time, the first occurrence of is this file. This is the first occurrence. Second occurrence. So the second it has found the first occurrence, it will print the line. Again in the next line also, the second it finds the first occurrence, irrespective of whether the whole word was also there, but it is also treated as a substring. So all those lines which matches this pattern, whether it is a string or a substring, it will be printed. I am writing -i for ignoring the case and a -w for treating my pattern as a whole word and not a substring. It should be only treated as a main string.